Call the special town meeting for the town of Wareham, January 13, 2025. It is about 7 p.m. here at the Wareham High School on 7 Viking Drive in Wareham. I will call the meeting to order. We have a 0 quorum requirement, and obviously there's more than 0 people here. So if the town clerk could confirm that the warrant for the special town meeting has been duly posted?
Yes.
And that's been confirmed by the town clerk. So before we get started, I would ask that you please stand if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. The colors are presented by the Wareham High School Junior ROTC. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Before we do get started, just because there might have been a little confusion with folks coming in, this section down here, immediately in front of me to the left, is the non-voter section. If you're a registered voter in the town of Wareham, you need to be sitting in a different section if you wish your vote to be counted. A few ground rules, if you will. This town meeting shall be governed by Massachusetts general laws, our bylaws, Robert's Rules of Order, town meeting time to the extent that they conform to the conditions of the town, and also governed by my rulings. As required, I will now do a roll call of the departments of the town of Wareham. Administration. Finance Department, Police and Public Safety, Human Resources, Health Department,
Here.
Library,
Here.
Town Clerk,
Here.
Municipal Maintenance,
Here.
Planning and Economic Development and Zoning, Council on Aging,
Here.
Sewer Department,
Here.
School Department. So I would like to introduce, or have the people on the stage introduce themselves. I'll first recognize the chair of the Select Board, Judith Whiteside.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This evening, we have myself, Mr. Jared Chadwick, our clerk, Sarah Corbett, and Ron Bessie are here with me this evening. Thank you.
And with regard to the Finance Committee, I believe that Ms. King is going to speak for the Finance Committee. If you could introduce yourself and your members.
Thank you. Vice Chair Brianna King. I have Alan Slavin, Andrea Piccarelli, Jody Smith, Jerry Stefinski, and Heidi Churchill.
Thank you. And so by tradition, the debate on the various articles and motions that we'll be discussing will be limited to 5 minutes for the petitioner to speak and 2 minutes for each subsequent speaker. Before you speak, if you could please state your name, and I would ask, as I do at every one of these town meetings, please treat the other voters and guest speakers, who are people that are recognized, who are guests, with courtesy, the same courtesy that you would expect for yourself if you were standing up there to speak. We're here, as you know, to debate the issues before the town meeting and not to personally attack each other. And I think that it really shows Wareham in its best light if we can do that, if we can be civil and agree to disagree if we have disagreements on the issues. So under our bylaws, we have a so-called lottery system for the articles that are on the special town meeting warrant, and so they are taken up by lottery. Article 1. Is there a motion on Article 1?
Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $100,000 from certified free cash to fund solar experts to be used for litigations or take any other action relative thereto.
Second.
If I might, just so, it needs to actually be in the form of a motion, as opposed to simply reading the article. I know it's hard for you to see. I had that problem when we were at the elementary school. So,
I move to approve as printed in the Finance Committee report.
Second.
and may I have the report and recommendation of the Select Board?
Select Board recommends favorable action 3-2-0.
And may I have the report and recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends favorable action 6-1-0.
Is there anyone here to speak to the article?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The reason for the article is we are engaged in litigation with a solar company. I believe the actual litigation is 27 CPR Solar 1 LLC versus Town of Wareham Planning Board. What we are seeking is a transfer from certified free cash of $100,000. We do have those funds available. If it passes, it'll leave us at just under $3.89 million. Select Board Member Quirk, who is not available to be here tonight, had a statement. Madam Moderator, if that's okay, I'll read that off.
Yes, please.
I'm not able to be at town meeting due to previously arranged travel plans. I do want my strong support for Article 1, which would authorize the transfer of available funds for hiring expert witnesses in several appeals of the planning board decisions. Hiring experts in these cases is important, among other reasons, to address safety issues related to battery storage. Battery energy storage systems are subject to occasional but serious accidents, the cause of which is not well understood. Experts are necessary to assist counsel in explaining to the court what the basis of the planning board's concerns are, and therefore why the planning board's decision about the safety of the town should be respected. Thank you.
Thank you, and I was remiss, Derek Sullivan is our town administrator, Richard Bowen, town council, deputy moderator, Claire Smith, and from the town clerk's office, Lisa Johnson and Shane Martin. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this motion? And most of the people here, I think, are regular attendees, but in case you're not, the two microphones that are in this middle aisle here, if you wish to speak, come up to one of them. If you're not able to come up to the microphone, just flag down a teller and they'll bring a microphone to you. Yes, gentleman to my right.
Thomas Pickey. I rise in opposition to this article. I think we already engage professional legal counsel through Mr. Richard Bowen, who the town sees fit to represent us in all kinds of legal action. And I'm wondering why, just common sense would suggest, why are we spending another $100,000 for a so-called solar expert? And I'd like somebody to explain to me who this solar expert is and exactly what a solar expert is. And for example, if the town has an indefensible position with respect to a solar field, no amount of legal expertise is going to convince a judge otherwise. So again, I suggest that we use common sense here and not squander $100,000 of town money. It could be better spent. If we have $100,000 to squander, let's put it into the Spinney Library or some other much-needed expense. Thank you.
Yes, I think, Mr. Bickey, somewhere in there you had asked a question about the need for the solar expert. So through me, I recognize town council to address that.
Madam Moderator, through to the previous speaker, good evening, Tom. This wouldn't be for legal counsel. I appreciate your vote of support for me on that. The planning board's decisions are based in part on their scientific opinion as to the safety or lack of safety of solar facilities. And if this were approved, it would be used not to hire more lawyers. I mean, I've got plenty of lawyers. It would be used to hire scientific experts who could testify about the fire hazards and other hazards that are presented by these sorts of facilities. If this money were not available, rather than having scientific experts testify to support the planning board's opinion, we would be relying on the planning board members themselves to offer their opinions as to the dangers involved. Thank you.
So, gentleman to my left at the microphone.
Good evening. Carl Schultz. I'm chairman of the planning board. I rise to speak in support of Article 1, which seeks to allocate $100,000 from certified free cash to secure expert assistance for our town council in defending two critical lawsuits involving large ground-mounted solar projects. This is not a matter of dollars and cents. It's not just about a matter of dollars and cents. It's about standing firm in defense of decisions made by the planning board in the best interests of our town. As many of you know, these cases are not mere routine matters. They challenge the integrity of the planning board's decision to deny extensions and permits for solar projects that we determined were not aligned with the public good, without the funding to hire the necessary and to answer the previous applicant. This would represent a hydrogeologist to talk about water flows and impacts of a battery event on our sole source aquifer, which these projects are located directly or above or adjacent to, and an expert on battery systems themselves. To continue my statement. Without the funding needed to hire the necessary experts, our town council has stated that he cannot adequately defend our decisions in court. Let me be clear about what is at stake. If we fail to approve this funding, we are effectively leaving the planning board, and by extension the town itself, and further extension the citizens, without a viable defense. This would open the door to unfavorable judgments that could have far-reaching consequences for our community, our environment, and our ability to exercise local control over such projects in the future. The Finance Committee has recommended favorable action, as has the Select Board, highlighting that nearly $4.3 million, Mr. Sullivan gave the exact numbers, we'll have free cash available even after the expenditure. This is not a reckless use of funds, but a necessary investment to protect the town's interest in complex and high-stakes litigation. Volunteer boards like the Planning Board take on challenging and often controversial decisions. It is only fair that we, as a community, provide them with the tools and resources to defend those decisions when they are challenged in court. Without experts to support our case, we risk not only losing these lawsuits, but also undermining the authority of the Planning Board and discouraging public service in the future. I urge you to consider what kind of precedent we want to set tonight. Do we want to be a town that stands behind its boards, or do we want to leave them defenseless? I ask you to vote in favor of this article and send a clear message that we value good governance and will not abandon decisions made in the best interest of the town.
Thank you. Gentleman to my right.
Thank you, ma'am. Daniel Angeloni, USMC, retired and Knight of Columbus. I rise to oppose this for a number of different reasons. One, the technology is unstudied. They don't even know what causes the problems. The environmental impact that this could cause, would cause, I'm not comfortable with. And seeing the level of poverty and the volunteer work that I do, I honestly believe this money could be better spent to help the town residents that are suffering during these hard times. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Slavin.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming to town meeting before we start. I'm the negative vote on the Finance Committee.
You may, yeah, is your mic on?
Not working. Try another one. Hello? Okay. Again, I'll start again. Thank you all for coming to town meeting. It's greatly I'll have to eat the mic. Okay.
There you go.
How's that work? If I breathe too hard, I'm going to inhale a bunch of foam. Again, thank you very much for coming to town meeting. It's greatly appreciated by all of us and all the volunteers. I am the one that voted no on this particular article for the Finance Committee. My concern really is simple. The money spent is really not going to do much of anything if the committees, basically land boards, do not listen to town council when they ask for direction. I'm not talking about the Conservation Committee because I like to sleep in my bed tonight. Those of you who know what's going on understand that one. But again, I just don't think it is worthwhile. Mr. Bickey's comment, I think it hits it right on the nail. And basically, as much as I like to see, extra help, this is not going to solve the issue. You have to follow Mass General Law. You have to follow the Attorney General. And for those of you who have recently noticed the MBTA housing rule, which we all are not happy with, the Attorney General just basically made a decision against all the cities for that particular piece. So we can't sit there and redo things that do not exist. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes, gentleman to my right.
Good evening, Jeff Sweat, District 1. Through you, Madam Moderator, to the Town Administrator. I understand the idea of litigating based on principle, and I also understand the idea of dueling expert witnesses. So we have to assume that the other side will also have their expert witnesses. So my question to you, Mr. Town Administrator, is what are the odds of prevailing in this litigation if these expert witnesses are in fact retained?
I'm not an attorney, and I'm a very poor gambler, so I'm not an odds maker on that, Jeff, so I can't give you the answer. I apologize.
Well, then I will ask the moderator if Mr. Bowen could answer that question, please.
Mr. Bowens indicated, Attorney Bowens indicated he would, so I will give him the floor.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through the previous speaker. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening.
Happy New Year. Couple things before I get to the meat of your question. I had a call from an opposing counsel on a case, in fact, one of these solar cases, who said to me, "So, you're having a town meeting on Monday night?" And I was like, "Well, yes, I am." yeah, we saw some of the things that were on the warrant. Oh, that's nice. I say all that because anything that we say here tonight will be used against us in a court of law. Isn't that the way they say it on the TV shows? So, yeah. So I kind of gave Derek his Miranda rights before he answered your question and said, nah, I wouldn't answer that one. So let me try to give you an answer that will satisfy some of what you've asked. I would put the town of Wareham in a difficult position if I ever attempted to put odds on a case. That's the sort of thing that we tend to discuss in executive session rather than out in the open where our enemies can get a hold of what it is that we really think. So with that being said, what I can tell you is that as you and the prior speakers have indicated, this would be, or I should say are aware, yes, there may be a contest of experts. The town's case will go either one of two ways in terms of how it's conducted. It will either be a case where there are experts who can offer duly qualified expert scientific opinions. That's scenario one. Scenario two is, in the alternative, members of the planning board will be testifying as to their opinions as to what the effects of these type of facilities are. I mean, those are the two options as to the type of case I would be presenting to the court. And I'm happy to present either case because I'm always happy to play the cards that I've been dealt by the dealer. Tonight, you're the dealer. So it's either a case where experts testify and offer scientific opinions, or it's members of the planning board who voted against particular actions will testify to the judge and explain why it is they felt that a no vote was necessary and important. Jeff, I know that doesn't put odds on anything, but I think it at least gives you an idea of what's involved.
So I'm going to take it that neither the town administrator nor town council is willing to say which side of this case they'd rather be on.
Oh, heck no.
Thank you, Mr. Sweat. Lady to my left. There you go. Yeah, you're going to have to lower that a little.
Nancy McHale, Precinct 5. I stand in support of this article, and I would ask the town meeting here to vote in support of the article, in support of their boards. I know, having sat on a board or a committee for town, it's not easy. It's a lot of time and energy. And if volunteers on whose backs this town runs, it would not be good if people say, no, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to put myself out there and use my talents and time to sit through all of these meetings and make what they believe to be the best judgments for the town, given what the information that they have heard. I think it's a really bad precedent not to support your boards. So please vote in support of this, what is a relatively small amount of money in a huge budget, but it does represent time, talent, and energy that the planning board has made these decisions for your safety, health, and welfare. Thank you very much. I appreciate your taking the time to listen.
So, you are coming up to speak. Lady to my left.
Hi, my name is Denise Wolk. I live in Wareham, but I couldn't tell you which district. I am one of those volunteers that sits on one of the boards here in town, or committee, actually, exploring alternative energy, as a matter of fact. But I support both Carl and Nancy in supporting this measure. It's so important to not just have our opinions or what we're able to read, but actually expert advice to consult on these things. And I do have a question through the moderator to probably Derek, and that is, does the town stand to have a judgment levied against it, like a penalty or a fine, if we lose these cases, and could that be more than $100,000?
So, Mr. Sullivan, if you're willing to answer that.
Okay, sling it over to town council again
Yes,
for the legal.
it's been laterally passed over to town council.
Madam Moderator, through you, the previous speaker. I had to give Derek his Miranda rights again. The cases, they're not cases that have damages attached to them. Not ones where there's a judgment and you have to pay X number of dollars. These are permitting cases. Do you get the permit or don't you? Or do you get the permit with certain conditions and not other conditions? And typically those kinds of cases don't have a monetary component attached. Neither the winner nor the loser is writing a check. So, I mean, that's not to take away from the importance of any particular case. It's just that they're not, like an auto accident case or something like that. They're not money cases. So, to answer the previous speaker's question, the $100,000, it's not the sort of thing that, if we win, we get $200,000. It's not a money-making opportunity. It's the cost of providing scientific witnesses to educate the judge as to the scientific basis for the action that the planning board took. That's all. Thank you.
And Madam Moderator, I apologize. I just wanted to clarify. We have certified free cash right now, which is what we're seeking a transfer from, $4,998,642. So that would leave us, if this were transferred out, $4,898,642. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything further to be said under the motion on Article 1?
Madam Moderator, may I make a
I'm sorry.
comment? I am one of the Finance Committee members, Andrea Piccarelli, who did vote in favor of this. And not a legal expert, but one of my opinions on this is if we aren't willing to spend the money to defend our decisions and provide the needed expert testimony, to me it opens us up to have future litigation brought towards us because developers and various interested parties may seem that we're an easy target to then force through a court something that the town leaders feel isn't appropriate for our town or has concerns about it. And so I would be afraid as to what type of a precedent that would set by sending a message to say we aren't willing to spend the money to defend those decisions, and it makes us a bigger target in the future for other nay decisions to be challenged, which would cost us far more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Whiteside, you wanted to speak?
Yes, please. I previously was not in favor of spending this money. I've heard some very good arguments tonight, too, which have really changed my mind. I feel it's important that we support our town council. And if town council believes that we should be spending this money, then I am willing to recommend to you that we do that. I am backing up town council here. Thank you.
Is there anything further to be said under the motion on Article 1? I don't see anyone standing, so we'll go to a vote on, on Article 1. This requires a majority vote. So all those are in favor of the motion under Article 1. I move to approve as printed in the Finance Committee report. Please signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by stating nay. It passes by a voice vote majority. Article 3. Is there a motion under Article 3?
I move to approve as printed in the Finance Committee report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded under Article 3. Is there someone that will be, I'm sorry, I'm a bit remiss. May I have the report and recommendation of the Planning Board? Mr.
Through you, Madam Moderator, Joshua Faraday, Land Use Coordinator for the Town of Wareham. The Town of Wareham Planning Board held a duly advertised public hearing under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, to discuss and vote on a moratorium for accessory dwelling units, ADUs. The Planning Board voted to recommend favorable action 4-0-0 to town meeting.
And would you care to also speak to the article?
Yes. This allows the time to thoroughly research accessory dwelling unit requirements of the recently passed Chapter 150, Section 8 of the Acts of 2024, or more commonly known as the Affordable Homes Act of 2024. Review promised release of guidance from the state on how to interpret the act, and have time for the town to work through the drafting and editing of a bylaw to conform to those findings. This is a change to our zoning bylaw, and the quantum of vote required would be a 2/3.
Is there anything further to be said under the, under the motion on Article 3? Oh, I'm sorry. May I have the vote and recommendation of the Select Board?
Select Board recommends favorable action 5-0-0.
And may I have the report and recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends favorable action 7-0-0.
And I'll recognize the lady to my right at the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Brenda Ekstrom, Precinct 2. Sorry about my voice. This is supposed to come out on February 2nd, the state's decisions. Do we know if the state will allow us to do a moratorium? Have we spoken to them?
Is there anyone here who cares to answer Mrs. Ekstrom's question?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin.
Sitting here in the corner, we disappear. We have done a moratorium several times. One of the most recent times was basically when the marijuana law came into effect, and we didn't know what was going to happen there. The second time was the marijuana cafes. The Attorney General, which is out of Worcester, the assistant, which is Margaret Hurley, will allow a specific time for a moratorium. It's usually no more than 1 year.
So no one has spoken to anyone because they have held meetings on this. I've attended some. They have had, you had until the 10th till January to put in your things, your suggestions. They had a public hearing at the State House, or they're having one, I believe it's the 20th, or the 10th, whatever, of January, and they're gonna have them out. So I just don't understand why we didn't wait for that and have this like January 27th when we would have known all these answers.
There's actually a good answer to that. When we initially set the date for this town meeting, they didn't have all those set up.
But you knew that even
Wait. So I should have said this earlier. So if you have a question and someone from the town is able and willing to answer it, that's fine. But I'm not going to have a private conversation between the citizen and the official answering.
Then through you, Madam Moderator, this was known before the fall town meeting, and this was one of the reasons why we were having a special town meeting so we could get all these answers on the accessory dwelling units and all of the stuff on that they put through. So I don't understand why we didn't wait 2 weeks when we would have had all this stuff. And now we're gonna try to do a whole year waiting. But that's how we do it, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Mr. Slavin.
Thank you. The reason for the moratorium, our history with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on writing rules and regulations has not been very good lately. The only reason we're asking for the moratorium is there's certain areas of the accessory dwelling law as they have it that have issues. There may be some issues there. All we're trying to do is wait to see what it's actually going to be. You're going to vote, I think, later on today on an ADU article as it is, and we can therefore go forward if we have to simply go ahead and change anything that has to be modified. It's not that we're not going to do it. We want to wait to see what the state actually puts through finally. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bickey.
Thomas Bickey. I rise in support of the moratorium. I think common sense says we don't put the cart before the horse. We don't have the regulations from the state yet, so it seems kind of futile to pass a bunch of regulations and a new bylaw only to find out that, in fact, they don't coincide with what the state requirements are. So I suggest we wait however long it is, whether the meeting was 2 weeks from now or a month from now. We wait for the state to come out with their rules and regulations, and then we can see fit to modify and add additional things to it. And I'll give you an example. In the bylaw that's currently there, there's no mention in there about what do you do for people that use their accessory dwelling as a summer rental? What's the fine? Who's going to enforce it? How's it going to be taken care of? None of that is in the bylaw right now, and I think that's a serious deficiency. And there's other ones that I could point out, but I won't belabor the point. Again, I suggest that we vote on this moratorium. We've waited this long. We can wait a few more months to do it the right way. Thank you.
Is there anyone further that wishes to speak to the motion under this article? Seeing no one standing, we'll go to a vote on this article. It is, does require a 2/3 vote. So all those in favor of the motion under Article 3, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by stating nay. It's not close, but I think I'd like to have a count on that just to be on the safe side. So if the tellers could get ready to make the count. All those in favor of the motion under Article 3, please signify by raising your voting cards. Raise them high so the tellers can see them. Okay, teller to my left. Priscilla, oh, I'm sorry.
24.
24, the middle section. 52. The right section. 16. And the stage in the front, this front area in the middle. 18. All those opposed to the motion under Article 3, please signify by raising your voting cards. Teller to my left.
8.
8. Teller in the middle. 16. And on the right? 3. And the stage in the front? 2. Okay. Just give me a moment. So 110 in favor. What do you get? You get 56? Yeah. So you get 58 on the.
They didn't get it. Well, 29. Yeah, they would have needed 58. The nays would have needed 58. They got 29. They got 29. Right, so right, half. 2 times the negative vote, right, so they would have needed 58.
29, right, right, so it passes. So the, sorry for the delay. So it's 110 in favor, 29 opposed. It's a total of 139 votes. So 2/3 of that would have been 92, so it passes by the requisite 2/3 vote. Thank you. Article 5. Is there a motion under Article 5, accessory dwelling bylaw?
I move to approve as printed in the Finance Committee report.
Is there a second? Motion made and seconded under Article 5. May I have the vote and recommendation of the Select Board?
Select Board recommends favorable action 500.
May I have the vote and recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends favorable action 700.
Thank you. And Mr. Flaherty, do you have the report and recommendation of the Planning Board?
I do, through you, Madam Moderator. The Town of Wareham Planning Board held a duly advertised public hearing under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, to discuss and vote on action to amend the Wareham zoning bylaw to include Section 850 accessory dwelling units. The Planning Board voted to recommend favorable action 400 to town meeting.
And do you wish to speak to the article?
I do.
Please.
The town has created a bylaw amendment to address local requirements for implementing the new law passed in Section 8 of Chapter 150 of the Acts of 2024. The law permits accessory dwelling units to be built by right in single-family zoning districts. The purpose of the bylaw is to clarify the requirements necessary for applying for and obtaining proper approval to construct an ADU. The quantum vote required would be a simple majority since the article refers to housing.
Is there anyone that wishes to be heard under the motion under this article? Yes, Mrs. Ekstrom.
Thank you, Miss Brenda Ekstrom, Precinct 2. All right, so the previous one, we just put a moratorium on the ADUs or the affordable housing law for 1 year because we don't know what the state's going to do. But now we're going to write up accessory dwelling units that we don't know what they're gonna do with. This is counterintuitive to what we just did. And not only that, but in the law, we already know that they are a by right. So why are we requiring any resident that wants to do one has to go through the zoning board? If they're by right, the resident should not have to spend another $200, $300, $400 to go in front of a zoning board to have it approved when it's a by right use. They should, if they match what they're supposed to, then the building inspector should be able to approve it. It should not have to go, and they should not have to spend $200 to go in front of a board, and then $7 for every person that lives within 300 feet of their front door to get to notify them that they're doing something that they cannot stop them from doing. So I think that I would recommend voting no on this. I think you're again, putting the cart in front of the horse. That's what you guys just complained about in the last one. So please vote no on this. If anyone wants to do an accessory dwelling unit, we already have Section 840, which has been approved and accepted by the Attorney General. It's been sitting on our books for 3 years, but this town won't implement it. So please vote no on this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard under the motion on Article 5? Yes, sir. Gentleman at on my left.
And I am in Precinct 4. I urge people to vote against this article. It sends mixed messages to the state. On one hand, we're saying, we want a moratorium. On the other hand, we're saying, oh, look, we've done a bylaw on it. I looked at it. I went over it a few times. And they're calling the entire Gatra bus route a bus station. And I scratched my head on that. Looked at the definition of a bus station through the state and MBTA communities, and it's not even close to what's in the article. I'd like to see a couple of workshops on this, have discussion with the residents of the town, and not a 10-minute planning board hearing or 15-minute, 6 days beforehand. So I urge you to vote no against this article, to vote against the article, and not send mixed messages to the state. Thank you.
Madam Moderator, may I just ask one question?
Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Flaherty, could you clarify the bus station question that wasn't really a question?
Of course, through you, Madam Moderator. The guidance, I will again reiterate from the state, has been very lacking. But in one of the guidance webinars they did mention was if a bus station should be defined as either a stop where the bus makes a stop, or if you have a bus route that allows for flag stops, meaning anywhere on the route you can wave down the bus, or if you are sitting on the bus you can indicate to the driver that you want to get off, the entire route would be then considered a bus station. Why is this important? It creates a half-mile buffer over the entire bus station or bus route. Thank you.
One more clarification? Sorry.
Yes, one more.
Sorry. Again, it's a state rule that you're quoting, that you got that definition from the state, not from us.
From the state's guidance.
Thank you.
That is correct.
Jim Manise. I'd
No,
just like to-
Mr. Manise, I think I'm going to recognize the lady to my right because she has not had a chance to speak yet.
Hi, Dorothy Major. I'm not sure what district I'm in. I've read this entire thing over, and I'm in agreement with not going through with this because the site plan review by the zoning board is a minimum of $450. Minimum. The town's looking to make it economically feasible to put these dwelling units in so family members can put units on for the rest of their family members to care for elder parents. That's not economical. And it's unreasonable based on the law. Another one is owner occupancy requirements and restrictions on the short-term rentals. But it's allowed if you're a seasonal employee. Doesn't that kind of discriminate? I'm not sure how much of this stuff will get through, but it's either all or nothing. And now that we have a one-year moratorium, why vote on this at this time? Another portion of this is to have the principal dwelling in the accessory unit have common utilities, including electric. It's very expensive to have a special meter put in by the electric company to separate those. When you have a tenant in the front building and a tenant in the back, how are you going to separate the gas where it's shared, the electric where it's shared? I just don't think there was enough thought in this. I have followed this since inception in August, and only last week on January 6th was there a meeting for public opinion on what was to be done. I don't think enough time was taken by the planning board to come up with something that would pass. So it's either all or nothing.
You actually have 10 seconds left, but
That's okay. I'm good.
oh,
Thank
you're good, thank you.
Yes, I would vote no.
All right. Mr. Muniz, you have about a minute left of your time.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear that I could find no Mass General law, a state definition, calling a bus route a bus station. If you can give me a section within the general laws or Commonwealth regulations which defines it such, I'm willing to accept that. Also, I'd like to know what's a minimum size of an accessory dwelling unit legally? Some people I was speaking with today were worried about, they're calling them shacks. And what's the minimum size? From what I could see, it's like 350 square feet, but I don't see that defined in the article. So let's give it some work, that's all. Again, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Slavin.
Yes, thank you. Sandy Slavin, Precinct 3. In the document, under 853 purpose, it talks about small affordable dwelling units. Does that mean we'll have to put an affordable housing restriction on it so it becomes affordable and put it in the deed? That's one question. The second question is, will this affordable unit count in our SHI subsidized housing inventory so we can get our 10%? The third question is, when this dwelling happens, accessory dwelling unit, will it count as a dwelling and therefore increase the number of dwelling units, which makes it harder to reach our 10% of affordable? So I have 3 questions.
Yes, is there anyone who wishes to answer all or one or 2 of the questions that Mrs. Slavin has raised?
I know that all the guidance we've received is these will not be considered affordable unless you do a deed restriction. We do have another avenue, as was said before, so these would not be considered affordable. I believe they would increase our housing inventory, so technically you're going backwards, but they would not be.
Okay, so they would count for the housing inventory, but not count for the affordable component of our housing inventory?
Correct.
Unless they're deed restricted?
Correct.
And not many people would want an affordable deed restriction on a property because it reduces the amount of money they can get for that property or that dwelling. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard under the motion on Article 5? Yes, Mr. Tropiano.
Mr. Tropiano, my name's Patrick Tropiano from Dowd Ave. Okay, so if we're putting a moratorium in place in order to find out what they're going to do and then come up with a plan, whatever it's going to be, then why should that not be it? Why are we trying to put a bylaw in place before we know anything that's happening? It doesn't make any sense to me. I move a further study on this article.
So there's been a motion made for further study. Is there a second on that motion? Motion made and seconded for further study. We need to actually get that in writing. Fill it out.
I'll take it, Margaret.
Thanks. Bear with us a moment. We're getting your writing to you, Mr. Tropiano.
He doesn't have a pen.
All right, so we have a motion made and seconded for further study on Article 5. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on the motion for further study? Yes, Ms. Whiteside.
I have a question that I would like to ask about this to Town Council. Why are we considering doing this? Which is a question really that all of you are asking. If we have a moratorium, why are we doing this? Could you address that, sir?
Madam Moderator, through you, the previous speaker, obviously there's a policy element to that answer. It's on the warrant because it was placed on the warrant. But it's a fair question, you know, why, if you've adopted a moratorium, why go through this exercise? And if town meeting had the last word on this, it probably would be unnecessary to have this article. But as you all know, town meeting doesn't have the last word on it. It goes off to the Attorney General for review. And as some of the speakers hinted at, I think, maybe somebody outright said it, when the moratorium gets to the Attorney General, you know, let's just say the Commonwealth wants what it wants. So we don't know how the Attorney General is going to rule on that. So imagine, if you will, a world where your moratorium was turned down by the Attorney General. I think the question then is, would you be asking yourselves, gee, I wish we had a bylaw? Or would you be saying, no, we'll just do it in April? So I think that's the question. I believe that's why you have them both on there. Kind of belt and suspenders, but, you know, you know what happens if you don't have a belt or a suspenders.
So thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Did you wish to speak?
Thank you, through you, Madam Moderator. I know it seems like a very long night and these town meetings can become long, but just recently you all voted to pass the moratorium. I'm hearing a lot of concerns of whether the state law will allow for things in our bylaw, and I think approving the bylaw and putting it in front of the AG to actually make that determination is what we really benefit from here tonight. We would then have 2 subsequent town meetings to then revise the bylaw and get a draft that is actually in line with the state. Not only that, we'll actually have a chance to look at the regulations promulgated by the state, which they only have in a draft form as of today. Thank you.
Is there anything further to be said on the motion for further study? Yes, Mrs. Ekstrom.
Yes, I would encourage everyone to please vote yes on further study. As one of the previous speakers said, we don't know what the Attorney General will do because the state wants what it wants. So there is a very good chance, as I had said previously, that the state won't accept our moratorium because they gave us the opportunity, and if we had done it at the end of the month, we would have known what they were doing. This idea of belt and suspenders, once again, going back to what I originally said about this one, we are requiring people to go to the zoning board, to notify people 300 feet around them. If you live in a R30 area where most of the people around you are 50 foot of frontage, you're talking probably 15 or 20 people around you that you're going to have to notify. The previous speaker said $450. That's probably on the lower end of what it's going to cost you to do something that you have by right if we let this bylaw go through. So please vote for the study on this. Thank you.
Is there anyone, who wishes to speak on the further study motion? Yes, sir, gentleman on my right.
Don Angus, District 2, I think. Not to be redundant, I'm not going to be redundant and repeat a lot of things that people have already said on this, but as I read the proposed bylaw, there are a number of concerns I have, and I strongly recommend further study. I think we can work on this a little bit more and get it right. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on the motion for further study? I do not see anyone else standing, so we will go to a vote. The motion for further study has been made and seconded, and requires a majority vote. All those in favor of the motion for further study on the accessory dwelling bylaw, please signify by stating aye. Aye. All those opposed to a motion for further study, please signify by stating nay. Nay. The ayes have it on a voice vote majority. So now it becomes the main motion, so it must be voted upon again, I'm being advised. So is there anyone that wishes to speak to the main motion, which is the now motion for further study? I don't see anyone else standing, so we'll go to a vote on the motion for further study, which has become the main motion. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by stating nay. And this also passes by a voice vote majority. Article 2.
I move to transfer the sum of $600,000 from certified free cash to acquire for general municipal purposes a parcel of land and buildings, therefore as shown as lots 1002A and 1002B on sewer betterment plan / assessors map number 48. However, that any such purchase shall be subject to a duly negotiated purchase and sale agreement. And further, that the select board shall be authorized to execute any and all instruments necessary to effectuate such purchase, and further authorize the town administrator to make any and all expenditures necessary to effectuate said purchase.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded on Article 2. May I have the vote and the recommendation of the Select Board?
Select Board recommends favorable action 500.
May I have the vote and recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends favorable action 700.
Is there someone that wishes to speak to the article?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So there's several actions being done here, or being requested. The first one is to transfer from certified free cash the amount of $600,000. So we spoke about the amount before. So if this were to pass, we would have $4,299,642 left. All right, so that's the first part. The next part is authorizing the select board to enter into negotiations and set a price. That $600,000 obviously isn't the price. That's a ceiling for all the acquisition costs. You hope the goal's obviously not to utilize that at all. And then the last part is really to actually make the purchase if everybody approves of it. So, Matt, can you go to the end where the first map slide is? So if you're staring at the property, if you're staring at the front of the town hall, you'll see it's the one to the right. It's those two parcels, 1002A and 1002B. Fairly substantial piece of property. A little over 2.0 acres. In fact, it looks like you could actually pick up the town hall and most of the parking and put it right on there. So what's interesting this property to the town? Well, we own everything around it. Speaking of somebody, I think they sort of said it's the gap in the teeth of the town. So so we've got this available. The zoning is institutional. Institutionals, medical, hospital, municipal, and educational. So it's zoned properly for our needs. I will tell you, we do not have an immediate plan for it. However, this is an opportunity. We have the funds available for it, and that's why we've brought it before you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on the motion under Article 2 to approve the funding to purchase 80 Marion Road? Yes, Mrs. Ekstrom.
Thank you, Brenda Ekstrom, Precinct 2. I'm sorry, through you, Madam Moderator, the town administrator, how many acres did you say? Because on here it says 1.36.
Yes, correct. So when we put 1.36, then when we started going through the whole thing, realizing that was not both lots included, which actually, if you look, the lots run right through the house. It's kind of a strange setup. So in this case, it's a good thing, right? It's not. We're actually getting would be more land than less. So.
All right. All right. Thank you. Because a couple of things which you guys will do what you want to do, but I would like to just say that I really wish, whether it's capital planning or the finance committee, if people could kind of take a look at just a few years into the future. If you're looking at, oh, we have this great opportunity to buy land that we don't know what to do with. 3 years ago, we had land that we sold. It was on 15 Gibbs Ave. We sold it for $520,000. That was 2 acres of land. We're gonna buy this for $600,000. Someone said it could be a police station. Well, that could have been a police station. We could have saved ourselves $100,000 if we had had a little foresight. But we didn't. We seem to be selling off all kinds of land that the town owns, but then we buy this. And if the people who own it are here, I mean no disrespect to you, but you put a cap on this. I don't know if you've done any negotiations, but you could put a cap on it.
So your time is up, if you could wrap up.
Of $600,000. Well, if I own the property, you think I'm selling it for anything less than $600,000?
So thank you. Thank you. No, your time is up.
I'm sorry, may I have 30 more seconds?
30 more seconds.
Thank you. And the other thing is that, so you're doing it so they know that your cap is $600,000. We do this all the time, where we put out how much money we're going to spend so the people know. Their assessment, the total assessment for the land is only like $380,000. So I just wish we would kind of think before we strike. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Oh, I wasn't sure if you were coming down to speak or not. Mr. Slavin. Mr. Slavin, and then the gentleman to my right. So go ahead,
Wareham has
Mr.
had
Slavin.
several opportunities over the years to buy property. One of the biggest pieces was the Con Edison building over where 195, 25, 495. The town didn't do it. We could have had everything possible. You don't get opportunities very often to buy land which you can develop down the road. You've got 3 pieces of land here you're going to put together. You have a lot of options available. I would highly recommend that the town be able to purchase this land because you have the schools, you have town hall already there, and it makes a lot of sense to have that land available for some future development. Thank you.
A gentleman to my right.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the district I'm in. I guess my only concern is purchasing land without knowing the reason that the town wants it and not knowing what your intent is with that land. What would the subsequent cost be for whatever you decide to do with it? It could be any absorbent amount, which, who knows? That's all I have to say. I think we need to know more about what your intent is with that land before we can make an informed decision. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chadwick.
All right, so this is my own thought here. There is no intent with this land right now, but if we don't buy it, we're gonna lose it. And personally, in my personal opinion right here, if we buy that, it'd be a perfect spot for a police department to keep our kids, our schools protected. And in this day and age, how things are going, unfortunately, I'd love to see a police department there. There are no plans for it. I'm not saying there is. If we don't buy this, we're losing it. And the chief can say it right here. Our police department is outdated and it's time to update. This would be perfect. What's that?
No, you are out of order. If you wish to
My
speak, you
apologies.
can come up to the microphone and I will recognize you.
That's it, thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard on this article? Seeing no one else standing, we'll go to a vote. Because this is a article for the acquisition of real estate, it requires a 2/3 vote. So all those in favor of the, if we could have the motion back up again? All those in favor of the motion under Article 2, approve funding to purchase 80 Marion Road, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by stating nay. I declare that it passes by a 2/3 voice majority. 4. Article 4. Is there a motion under Article 4?
I move to approve as printed in the Finance Committee report.
Second.
Motion made and seconded under Article 4. May I have the report and recommendation of the Select Board?
Select Board recommends favorable action 500.
May I have the report and recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee recommends favorable action 700.
And may I have the report and recommendation of the Planning Board? Mr. Flaherty.
Through you, Madam Moderator. The Town of Wareham Planning Board held a duly advertised public hearing under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, to discuss and vote on an action to amend the definition of allowable uses within the Business Development Overlay District, the BDOD, to include large-scale ground-mounted solar, installations, and the removal of the installations of large-scale ground-mounted solar installations from all other zoning districts. The Planning Board voted to recommend favorable action 400 to town meeting.
Yes, and you wish to speak to the article?
I do. Proper zoning is essential to ensure solar installations are located in suitable areas. It reinforces our community's commitment to suitable energy while protecting residential neighborhoods. Zoning identifies appropriate sites for solar farms, balancing energy needs with agriculture, residential, and natural land uses. Additionally, zoning regulations are crucial for preserving green spaces, protecting wildlife, and ensuring solar installations do not harm the environment. This is not an open permit for solar installations. Any projects proposed within the Business Development Overlay District will still require a site plan review special permit from the Planning Board. Being as this is a change to the zoning bylaw, the quantum of votes required would be 2/3.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard under the motion under Article 4, large-scale ground-mounted solar installations? Yes, Mrs. Ekstrom.
Thank you. I'm opposed to clear-cutting forests that took over 100 years to grow and replacing them with solar fields that only have lifespans of 25 years, only to have those solar fields replaced with subdivisions in 25 years that are already part of the plan, wink, wink, because the underlying earth was removed and the sand was sold, jeopardizing the natural filtering process of our drinking waters in order to create solar fields that are in the shape of future subdivisions. I believe granting this to only the BDOD should be considered spot zoning, as all the land in the BDOD has only one owner. While I would love to eliminate clear cutting of the pine barrens, granting one landowner the privilege not entitled to others is unfair. We need to write better solar bylaws that protect the environment. It is foolish to create more energy by destroying natural water filtration systems, greenhouse gas absorption systems, and an air purification system. I'm guessing replacement systems for water filtration, air purification, and greenhouse gas absorption that run on electricity would use far more energy than the solar panels will make. If the town and the landlord and the landowner of the BDOD are interested in renegotiating the BDOD agreement, then the entire agreement should be opened up and the town should be able to place it on the table, because there are a few areas in the BDOD agreement where the town got screwed.
Your time is up.
Another 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Where the town got screwed, and renegotiate the entire deal instead of just giving more and more and getting screwed more and more. I have one question. I would like to know if this is for the BDOD 1 or the BDOD 2, because there are different agreements for different areas.
Time. Your time is up. Thank you.
Could I get that question answered, please?
If there is someone that wishes to address that question, I don't see anyone, so I'm going to recognize the gentleman on the left.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. For the record, Joseph Still. I am here as a lifelong Wareham resident, also a member of the youth here at Wareham. And my question here is today, what kind of precedent are we setting if we're allowing such large-scale solar facilities to disrupt our quiet and modest town? I suggest we consider solutions that not only benefit renewable energy, but make them not such a disruption to the town of Wareham.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Mr. Schultz?
Thank you. I am in support of this district, or excuse me, creating this overlay district. I did want to clarify a couple of things. This does not create any new rights for the property holders in this zone. The rights exist today, and they have protections already in place. So this does not create new rights for this landowner. People are concerned about some special underhanded thing. Rather, it helps us protect the rest of the town so we don't see development in forested areas in West Wareham and in residential districts throughout the town. We are responding to the pressure we're getting from the Massachusetts legislature, who are pushing solar into all towns, but particularly towns like ourselves. It's not going on in Duxbury or Newton. They're pushing it here. I just say this gives us one more piece of control until we can work out the best action. So it's not creating any new opportunities.
So Mr. Muniz, I think you're up next.
Jim Muniz, Precinct 4. I think the concept of having areas zoned for solar is good. I think having it in one spot with an overlay over an overlay over the zoning, I think it's R60 there, is actually the underlying zoning. If I don't, I would like to see the lines move south of 25 and include the industrial area so that we have multiple property owners being able to take advantage of this, and also utilizing spaces which already has been changed. You know, it's mostly concrete and sidewalks and buildings. I'm not looking at the engineering aspect of it, of how to, but just to present a better solar zoning area, which is more inclusive and less exclusive. I don't know if it'd be found as spot zoning. Looking at some of the stuff, it was like 50-50. I think we should give it a little more thought. And I'd like to make a motion for further study.
So there's a motion to amend the main motion for further study. I heard a second on that. We need to get that actually in writing. still a majority on both steps. Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, so we have that in writing. It's a motion to amend the main motion for further study, which was seconded. Is there anything to be said on the motion to amend for further study? I think you have a little time, Mr. Manise. Go ahead.
No, this is okay. Again, we didn't really have any, we had a very limited public discussion on this, which was held a week before. There wasn't much time to take the input of the people who did speak, or either online or at the meeting, to make changes to the article. Many of the people support having a solar zone, a zoning for solar, but also wanted to see the lines of the solar overlay changed. This would give us the opportunity to do that. Let's have some more public interaction at the beginning and not at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the lady who's been waiting patiently on my right. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Wendy O'Brien, District 4. I'm in agreement that we should look at having a solar overlay district, but I don't think the town has really thought through putting it in the business district. I mean, I know most of the people in this room know there was a horrible fire in Onset caused by a lithium-ion battery just a few days ago, and that building was destroyed. What happens if you put all these solar fields in the business district with clusters of the lithium-ion batteries, massive lithium-ion batteries that are required with all these solar fields? I'm afraid we won't have a town. If something happens to one of those batteries and sets off ignition of all these solar fields in the business district, it is a hazard. So I think I agree that we need to look at it. It's in all our neighborhoods. It's not safe there either. But if you put in a district, the state's going to look at it and say, hey, you said it could go here, and you know what? It's going to go there. You build it, and they will put it there. And every solar company is going to come in here and jump in and put it there. And this doesn't prevent this from impacting the residents, because I'm a resident and I am about all this land that they're going to put in where they're putting it. And so there's over 100 people in my neighborhoods that are going to be impacted by this. So just please, I agree with the motion it needs further study. Thank you.
Mr. Flaherty, did you wish to be recognized? Go ahead.
Yes, please. Through you, Madam Moderator. I've heard a few questions tonight on this article. I would like to let the town know that it's not our job to determine whether this is spot zoning or not. That's made at the Attorney General level, where they've already made the determination that it's not spot zoning, as we have the district already set. We are not creating a new overlay. We are only amending the overlay that exists. I hope many of you on your way in got to see the goal of what this was trying to accomplish. There were two maps out there. There was a green map that was largely in green. That showed all the residential zoning districts that, residential and commercial districts where solar is now allowed through special permit site plan review. The yellow portion there is the VDOD, where we would like to limit this to. Thank you.
Is there anything further to be said on the motion to amend for the main motion for further study? I do not see anyone else standing, so we will go to a vote. The motion to amend for further study actually requires a majority vote. So all those in favor of the motion to amend the main motion to make it a motion for further study, please signify by stating aye. Any opposed, please signify by stating nay. The chair is in doubt. I'm going to ask for a count by the tellers. So all those in favor of the motion to amend the main motion to make it a motion for further study, please signify by raising your voting card so the tellers can see them. On my left.
10.
In the center. 3-2. On my right. 16, and the stage and in front. All those opposed to the motion to amend the main motion to make it one for further study, please signify by raising your voting cards. On my left.
16.
In the middle. 20. On my right.
1.
On the stage and in the front.
Madam Moderator, may I ask for a recount in the front? Because I think, unfortunately, the counter turned his back while people were clarifying what the question was, and so not everybody had their hand up when he counted. And then they put them up while his back was to us.
During the asking for the vote on no?
The no on further study, yes, there was definitely some questions, and while he had his back to us when people raised their hands.
All right, and in abundance of caution, so all those who are opposed to the motion to amend to make this a motion for further study, please signify by raising your voting cards. Opposed. This is opposed to further study. Yes, on my left.
16.
In the center. 19. On the right.
1.
And the stage and in front.
10.
So the vote is 65 in favor of the motion to amend for further study and 46 opposed, so the motion has passed. So the motion for further study is now the main motion. Is there anything further to be said that we've not already heard? So all those in favor of the motion for further study, please signify by stating aye. All those opposed to the motion for further study, please signify by stating nay. Nay. All right, so why don't we go to another hand count. All those in favor of the motion for further study, please raise your voting cards. On my left.
9.
In the center. 32. On my right.
16.
And the stage and in front.
9.
All, No editorializing. All those opposed to the motion for further study, please signify by raising your voting cards. On my left,
19.
in the middle, on my right, and the stage and in front. 9. 17. So on the motion for further study, those in favor are 66, those opposed are 53. The motion for further study has passed. Having addressed all the articles in the warrant, I'll entertain a motion to dissolve the town meeting.
So moved.
Motion made and second to dissolve the town meeting. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye. All those opposed, please signify by stating nay. Thank
Thanks,
you
everyone.
very much for coming out this evening.